What's up, guys? Joe Munoz, OneStepPrep.com. In this video, I want to go through a few considerations for those of you transitioning from a light twin or a light GA airplane, or even really anything that is not a swept wing transport category jet. Even maybe you're going to find something helpful here for those of you that are flying corporate jets. So behind me, we have a Piper Meridian, and really anything that I'm about to share here would apply for those of you coming from a 172 or a Piper Warrior or a Seminole or even a Metro like what I used to fly, or this Meridian or whatever, okay? A couple things here that I see in training. Number one, for those of you transitioning from this platform, flaring too low. Now, the reason you're flaring too low, we'll see if we can focus in at all on this aircraft behind me. You'll notice where the cockpit sits here on this airplane, fairly low to the ground. And this is a Piper Meridian. It's not even a 172 or Piper Warrior, which is even lower. And so the sight picture that you're used to when you're flaring is a fairly low sight picture. And the result of that is when you get into the world of 737, A320, or really any other transport category jet, you end up flaring too low, which really means you smack it on fairly firm onto the runway. Apart from that, and that's something, by the way, we can work out in training, and we do in the sim world, right? We talk all about this, but just something for you to take out of this video in addition to some next points I'm going to give you here. The next thing is notice the wings. The wings are straight, much like on a 172, a Piper Warrior, or even the Cirrus that I see parked out here on the ramp, or the Piper Seminole that I see parked out here on the ramp. A straight wing means a couple of things for you. Number one, the aircraft slows down a lot better because, frankly, the airplane is just slow with a straight wing when compared to a swept wing jet. Because the wing is straight, and also, by the way, this happens to be a turboprop. It has a prop, really any propeller airplane. You can slow this aircraft down quickly. You can go down quickly. What we like to affectionately refer to as slow down and go down. You can do that well in these aircraft. But in the world of transport jets, or really any jet for the most part, it doesn't slow down and go down. And the result of that is we get a lot of unstable approaches. We get a lot of deficiency in what is known as energy management in the world of jets. A course that we talk much about on our A320 video program online. And of course, if you come train with us in the sim, we would absolutely talk about this with you more in person. So energy management is the key focal point. Another thing, because these wings are not swept, when you start to get into the world of two engines and talking about engine failures and what we call as V1 cuts in the jet world, you have something known as yaw roll coupling when we have a swept wing aircraft. In other words, a yaw couples to a roll, and it's a fairly aggressive roll because of the swept wing, because of the dihedral, and you don't really have a swept wing on your training platform or even on this Piper Meridian. And so the result of that is it's a little bit different flight characteristic on that 320-7.3 that you're training on, and therefore it's going to require a little bit different feel on the stick and a little bit different platform as a whole than what you're used to flying. Notice on this aircraft, like the 172, the Warrior, any training platform, here the Piper Meridian that's directly behind me. We just selected this because it happened to be what's on the field here in Montgomery Field, San Diego, where we're at. The engine's mounted in front of the airplane, unlike an underwing mounted engine like a 737 or a 320. When you do stall recovery in something like this, you're not going to have an exasperated nose-up pitching tendency like I would expect on a 7.3 or a 320. We have what is referred to as thrust vectoring effect there. In other words, because the engines are under the wing, the thrust vector is fairly aggressive in the nose-up direction, and it really pulls on those airfoils on the bottom, and it drives your nose up drastically. And the result of that is when you do your stall recovery, if you're aggressive on the thrust application, you could drive yourself into a secondary stall, which is exactly what we don't want. Another tip, aerodynamic braking. We don't do it in jets. I see a lot of candidates transitioning from the world of GA into the jet world. They touch down, they hold it off on the mains, and they're doing what they've always been trained to do, which is apply aft elevator input for aerodynamic braking, which is what we don't want to do in the world of flying a 737 or an A320. It risks tail strike, and frankly, it removes some of the weight off of the wheels, which we really want to generate maximum downward force on the wheels, helping out. Of course, the spoiler helps us to do this when they deploy upon landing. But also in doing so, we can get these reversers out. We can maximize the braking effectiveness of the auto brakes. It's really contrary to what you would do in this world of flying a GA airplane. And so hopefully here you took away a few things. One is the height of the cockpit, the wing design, the swept wing, the straight wing, the inability to go down and slow down in jets, the thrust vectoring effect, the lack of you not even really needing to do what we call quote-unquote aerodynamic braking in the jet world doesn't exist. All these things Hopefully you found value in the video and you take it to heart when you go into your type rating training on a 737 or an A320 or really any jet. And hopefully when you go to do that, you think of us here, Juan and Joe, your friends in training program. Success at onestepprep.com.